Hello. For those of you who don't know, my name is Carrie. I am 40 years old. I have a daughter and a husband and severe anxiety and PTSD. I probably should have written a script for this, but I didn't. So I'm just going to be making it mostly up. I had very different plans for how I was going to start doing this idea. I'm in no way, shape, or form a professional anything. I don't have a college degree in anything. I don't do a ton of research on how to be anything psychology related. I have a lot of experience at this point. So I thought it might be beneficial for people to connect with somebody that started in a very bad place and is entering a much better place. The reason that I decided to do this today is because yesterday was the election. I mean, it wasn't really the election. We don't have a president. I mean, we do have a president, but we don't have a newly elected president. And we probably won't for a while. Election day, whatever. What happened yesterday, I was not expecting, and so I kind of want to talk about that a little bit because this has been so hard on so many people. I started off the day kind of feeling a little weird, and I chalked it up to election anxiety because there's been so much going into this, and it's been such an ongoing, volatile process. Obviously, tensions are high, emotions are high. Also, we're still living in a global pandemic, and we still have a lot of bad things happening. And so yesterday was kind of a culmination of a lot of the bad things kind of coming to head. And it's going to take longer than a few days. So anyhow, I thought I had election anxiety. And I, at one point, was trying to pay a bill for my work. So I called the nice lady, and she was very nice. I'm sure she thinks that my job needs a new phone person because she asked where I was calling from, and I told her that I was calling from the job that I used to work at like a year and a half ago. And then she asked where I was calling from because I was like, oh, well, no, that's not where I'm from. And then I forgot the name of the place that I've worked at for almost a year. Fun fact, this makes it even more fun for me. No, it doesn't. My boss heard because we have like this window between our offices, and he keeps it open sometimes if he thinks he's going to need to, I don't know, tell me to print a bunch of stuff. He just likes to have it open. He also tells me what he's having for lunch every day. Anyhow, the window was open, and I was explaining to him after the fact, what I was like, oh God, this is so terrible. And he was like, oh yeah, I heard. Like, cool. So I basically just felt very floaty all day, just out of sorts. I couldn't really concentrate. I know that I did some things at work, but I couldn't really tell you what they were. Sorry, Peter. And so immediately after work, I went to therapy. I have it every Tuesday at 1:30, standing schedule. One of only 2 people that she's seeing in person. So that's probably not a thing to brag about. Anyhow, so I went into therapy, and I was talking a little bit about how I was feeling because that's kind of how it goes. And she was like, oh, hey, well, that's weird. Like, could you describe it? And as I was talking, I realized that because I was like, well, it's anxiety, but it doesn't feel like anxiety, like in my normal. Usually my anxiety is like in my body. I can feel it. It's like here, and my heart's beating, and it just is much more physical feeling than what I was experiencing, which was like very sort of cerebral. It was kind of in my eyes and in my ears, and it just felt so different. And as I was explaining this, I realized that what I was feeling was dissociation, which is something I'm very good at. If there was an Olympic dissociation trial, I'd probably take a solid bronze. I'm really good at it. But I'd never had it in this context before of unrelated to. Did I mention I have PTSD? Because I do. I don't know. I might be dissociating right now. But it was in a brand new context that I wasn't used to. And so it didn't dawn on me that that's what was happening. And as we sort of discussed things, we kind of realized and kind of came to the conclusion that it was dissociation, and it was happening because the election is something completely out of my control, that I have no say in. There's nothing I can do about it. It's a sense of helplessness, and that's not like usually a big deal for most people, but it just so happens that that's kind of what my PTSD centers around. And so this was a completely different trigger than I had any idea existed. So I didn't make the connection until I was in her office. And then once I did, we had to work really, really hard to bring me back to my body. Dissociation for me, I don't know, I don't assume it feels the same way for everybody, because nothing seems to be the same for every person. But for me, it's a lot in my eyes, like they feel full, which doesn't make any sense. It's really hard to describe an abstract feeling to somebody and have it make sense. But my eyes feel full, and like there's almost something over top of them, and then there's things behind them also. I don't actually feel my body a lot, and that's kind of one of the like telltale signs for me. Like, and I don't think everybody pays attention to their body all the time. When you're sitting in a chair, for the most part, you're not thinking like, oh, there's my butt, it's on the chair. My butt's on the chair. But it's when you like try to, for like just a second, figure out where your body's at, and you can't tell. That's what happens with me. My head is so far out there that the physical doesn't really exist. So we spent a lot of time trying to bring me back. At least I think it was a lot of time. It could have not been. I don't know. We did 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We did some oil smelling, stretching, belly breathing. We stretched a bunch because that's a really good way to like get back into your body. But I spent the whole day very challenged. By the time I left therapy, I definitely felt a lot better than I had before. I was still having some problems, and I was tired. Really, really, really tired. I did go to bed early, and I didn't pay attention to the results as much as I could. I mean, they're everywhere, or like the ongoing process. I feel a lot better today. I'm actually really excited that, not that it happened, because it was pretty terrible while it was happening, but that not only do I know a little bit more about how it all works, but again, I didn't know that could happen. And I wouldn't have known that could happen if I hadn't been going to therapy. This idea that I am doing with talking about my experiences, it is in no way, shape, or form to glorify my experiences. I don't want that. I don't think that that's healthy or cool. But I do want to, encourage people to go to therapy, because I definitely am in a much better place than I was before I started it. It's been hard. It is extremely difficult, but so is living without understanding the coping mechanisms that I've created, and also sort of being a slave to them. We'll probably talk about that a lot more later. So, and I know that it's like, first of all, therapy is kind of stigmatized, and it's a lot better than it used to be. I think people are much more willing and open to discuss it, but it's still a really hard thing to consider doing for yourself. It brings feelings of shame and failure, and like you can't possibly get better. It's opening up a whole new door to vulnerability that chances are you've shut. Like your brain shut it off. Because again, that's how you survive. Props to you. But those same mechanisms are probably hurting you, like substantially at this point. So I want to talk about in this like series or episodes or whatever. I don't know. There's no words for just I'm going to hang out in front of my camera and talk for 20 minutes or so. Again, the experiences that I've had, the struggles that I've had, the successes that I've had, which yesterday I do count as a success, even though the day was kind of garbage and really hard and I went to bed really early and I ate a bunch of ice cream. I still feel like I did a pretty good job. And also encourage other people to not only discuss their mental illness with people, but with a therapist, to figure themselves out better. I'm obviously not the key to anything important, really, but my small family unit has been pretty greatly impacted by this. I feel like I'm a better wife and I'm a better parent. Not a better cat owner because my cat's a piece of shit. But in general, it feels better. The day-to-day feels better. There's still a lot of bad days, and there's still hard days, and there's still, days where I feel like a failure. But there's more good days now than there used to be. And I hope that they just keep getting, more and more good days. Apparently that's what healing and growing are. Couldn't tell you for sure. That's from my therapist. So yeah, I'm hoping to be doing this for a while, on and off, just depending, to be a person that you can come to get some answers from that. Like, I'm not a therapist, but I've done this before. Actually, I think my next thing that I talk about is going to be about therapy and jumping over the hurdle of starting, because that's a hard one. So if you listen the whole time, cool. If you shut it off, I don't really care. I don't know that. And so thank you. And this has been Bittersweet Sympathy. Thank you, Sarah. And I hope you'll come back.